this Saturday, the world witnessed one of the greatest fights in heavyweight boxing history. And that was between Tyson Fury and Deontay the Bronze Bomber Wilder. This fight, this is why they say skills pay the bills. The more skilled fighter won. He won in the first fight, he won in the second fight, and he won in this last time. However, what made this, battle of Spartans so special was that a fighter was going to go out on his shield. And Deontay Wilder went out on his shield. That's all he ever wanted. He didn't want nobody to stop the fight, which they could have. They definitely could have stopped that fight a lot earlier than letting it get to the 11th. But, they let it continue. Very different. When you look at it, he broke his hand earlier in the fight. His camp told the refs, lied to the the medical physician that came in and asked, said he's fine, that he always does that. He went out there, continued to fight. They weren't going to give any reason. They wanted him. If he was going to get knocked out, he was going to go flat out, which is why the ref didn't even count, because once they seen his face just fall smack dead on the floor, they knew it was over and done. All the other times he got dropped, they could have just seen it because they could have just ended it. He was taking heavy blows, which is why he was so concussed after the fight, and any other fight they would have stopped. This just gives, credence to Mark Breland as to why he threw in the towel in the second fight. He did what any logical trainer would do in that moment, but Deontay Wilder did not want that. He wanted Tyson Fury to basically kill him in the ring. And Tyson Fury came close to doing so. He just knocked him out. But all said and done, kudos to Deontay Wilder. Though with his behavior afterwards kind of tainted the fact that, he fought such a great fight, in terms of heart, being able to drop Tyson Fury twice. It had a lot of people shook. People thought by the fourth round that Deontay Wilder had done it, that he had won. He dropped it. He had a 10-7 round, where Tyson Fury basically had to win the next three, which he did, to catch up and to take the lead. But those next three were they were rounds of inches. It wasn't until around the 9th round, or maybe let's call it the 7th or 8th, that, Tyson Fury clearly pulled away. He pulled away from it. The blows that he was landing on Deontay were just, brutal. I was saying that he's going to go down at any moment in time. It's just what shot's going to take him out. But even within that, he was still fighting and giving it to Tyson Fury. He hurt Tyson Fury, not just in the 4th round, but even after that. If you look at that 6th round, he hurt Tyson Fury, So it was a fight for the ages. I hope many of you guys were able to order the fight or go somewhere to watch it, because that fight didn't need to be streamed, and dealing with the lag and everything. You had to pay for that on pay-per-view, and it was worth every bit of that $80. Even the undercard fights were good. The F.A. Ajagba, Frank Sanchez, contrary to what people want to say of that it was boring, typical Cuban style, you got to learn a lot about, the future of a lot of the fighters coming up. F.A. Ajagba is a very, highly explosive fighter, very entertaining when he can get a knockout. Many people tend to liken him to Deontay Wilder. Frank Sanchez, a very skilled Cuban fighter. He's going to do his thing, and we all knew, and it was very predictable. The more skilled fighters won. This weekend was just all about skills, and when you look at the landscape of boxing, all the skilled fighters right now, have, the belts. All the skilled fighters have the belts. It's not like, it's not like before where, you just had fighters who have extraordinary knockout power, or, just are fighting a bunch of bums and it just happen to get a belt. When you look at when Anthony Joshua lost to Alexander Usyk, this more skilled fighter won. Alexander Usyk. Tyson Fury, Deontay Wilder, the more skilled fighter won. Tyson Fury. Even at the lower weights, when you look at it right now, at the middleweight division, let's just put it, Canelo Alvarez is more skilled than any middleweight out there. Maybe, except for, there's probably only one, that's Demetrius Andrade. He can stake a claim to that. He's a more skilled fighter. At the welterweight division, we still got to see between Terrence Crawford and Errol Spence. Those are skilled fighters. They have the belts at the welterweight division. You know, all the way down, even in the lightweight, Teofimo Lopez, skilled fighter. He's probably the most skilled lightweight out there. At the 140-pound division, Josh Taylor, the most skilled fighter out there. And, you know, yes, there's going to be the topic of, hey, how are you going to put Teofimo Lopez over Lomachenko? Lomachenko's more skilled. Yeah, but he was a champ but lost to another skilled fighter. So right now in boxing, you know, skills pay the bills. All the skilled fighters have the belts, right? If you want to see if you want to bet on who's going to win, you go with the more skilled guy, all right? Because boxing is a martial art that's not necessarily all about brute strength. You know, it takes tactics. You know, that's why Floyd Mayweather was able to beat as many world champions as he does, and he still holds that record and be able to go 50-0. He was more skilled than anybody he fought. He wasn't bigger, he wasn't stronger, didn't have the knockout power, but he was just more skilled, all right? So skills pay the bills, and that's where we're at, you know, all said and done. Now the question, you know, is, will Deontay Wilder come back? Will he come back, you know, to the ring? And honestly, I say he can, but I don't know if he has the mental fortitude to do so. You know, the excuse making that he made after the second fight raised a lot of eyebrows into this guy. Like, you know, we're not questioning his heart. We know he has a heart. He even proved it this past weekend. But the mental game, does he have the mental ability to say, like, you know what, I lost, does not mean my career is over. I can continue to press forward. You know, he made his life revolve around getting Tyson Fury back. And who knows if he will have the same focus going into another fight, because he may still have flashes of like, oh, I got to just rush in here and knock this guy out. So hopefully I can get a fourth fight with Tyson Fury. That, by the way, should never happen, because there's already a stamp on this. We already know who's the better fighter. I mean, Deontay Wilder still has some skill issues. And, you know, he was getting away with just that great equalizer, which is a right hand. And honestly, if he had some skills to his arsenal, Deontay Wilder would be the greatest heavyweight boxer of all time. Period, point blank. That right hand, the great equalizer, as I call it, just, you know, was able to propel him to nine title defenses against even other skilled fighters too. So could you imagine if he had a level of skill, what Deontay Wilder would do, or where he would be at this moment in time? It'll be crazy. But like I said, back on point is like, where is he going to go mentally? How can he recover after this? You know, he's going to have to take some serious soul searching to see like how badly does he want it. He has already hinted at it in other videos that, you know, he's looking to retire pretty soon. I don't know if he gets the payday he's looking for, unless it's against somebody like a Tyson Fury or an Anthony Joshua, if AJ wants to respect him and give him, you know, a chance to fight. And Deontay Wilder's profile has increased, you know, due to his fights, his trilogy fights with Tyson Fury. But outside of Tyson Fury, where does Deontay Wilder rank? Like, where is the interest in Deontay Wilder outside of, you know, fighting Tyson Fury? Okay? So that's where we want to look at. And when I do like, you know, different searches like on Google Trends and just seeing like, you know, where is the interest for Deontay Wilder, it's really not up there, all right? When you look at Deontay Wilder, you know, compared to Anthony Joshua, he's not more popular than Anthony Joshua, all right? He doesn't get more recognition than AJ. Heck, if you look at him compared to people like Canelo Alvarez, he's not a bigger draw than, you know, Canelo Alvarez. So where is the interest? You know, where is the interest for Deontay Wilder? That's where we have to ask ourselves. You know, I'm talking about globally. We already know in the United States, Deontay Wilder is a bigger draw than Anthony Joshua here in the US. But, you know, boxing right now is a global sport. You know, we have to look worldwide, and AJ has his numbers. So after this fight with Tyson Fury, though, Deontay actually has grown a fan base in the UK. People know who he is. Hopefully he can link up with Eddie Hearn, see what Eddie Hearn can toss at him. Maybe something with a Dillian White, a Joseph Parker. We can see something like that, and then he can round out his career, you know, like that. Because when you look at his fight resume, other than Tyson Fury, he doesn't really have any quality fighters that he's fought outside of Tyson Fury, all right? Though he fought him 3 times, that kind of boosted his profile. But outside of Tyson Fury, he doesn't have, much quality in there. So hopefully he'll be able to get something, going. I don't think he should quit. I would like to see him keep going. He can definitely be champion again one day, maybe when Tyson Fury drops all the belts, because he's looking to unify. And we'll see where it goes from there. We'll definitely see where it goes. But in the interim, he has to just do some soul searching. Right now, I don't even think he's on AJ's radar, because AJ is just focused on getting Alexander Usyk back. He just wants to get him back and make things happen against that guy. And if things don't happen against him, then I can definitely see an AJ versus Wilder. But in the rematch, I think AJ be able to get Usyk. When you watch that fight, there were some moments in that fight where you're like, man, if AJ really kind of just doubled up the jab or kind of pressed him, he could have made something happen there. But it didn't. And he's going to learn from that. AJ, he usually bounces back. He's contrary to what people say. People like to say that AJ is not, he doesn't have any heart or whatever. AJ has heart. When you look at his resume, he's fought the best quality of opponents out of all the heavyweights. Anthony Joshua has. And for somebody with his recognition and his status, he doesn't have to take a lot of those fights, but he does. So you can't question his heart. Now, if you want to question if he's crazy, well, that's different. He's not as crazy as a lot of the other heavyweights out there. All right. So I don't think he's going to be somebody that's going to have to get in a brawl or would even want to get in a brawl with a fighter. He just wants to knock that person out, level him, or even try to outbox him and then be done with it. All right. That's the type of person that AJ is. So we should only see, if we're going to see AJ and Wilder, that's not going to be settled or come to fruition until sometime maybe in 2023. All right. There's just a backlog of things that just got to happen. A lot of mandatories have to be settled. People trying to get the exercise their rematch clauses. But we shall see. But for right now, all hats goes off to Tyson Fury. He is the king of all heavyweights. It has been settled. The Gypsy King rules that division. He doesn't even have to unify, in my opinion. He does not even have to unify to settle that, which is why I say, why are they going to offer the step aside money to Anthony Joshua? I get it to say on paper he's the unified heavyweight champion, but we already know who is. So let AJ do his thing against Alexander Usyk. Let him exercise that rematch, all right? The winner of that, which I would say is going to be Anthony Joshua, let him fight Tyson Fury. Then when they fight Tyson Fury, which hopefully if it's AJ, that will be such a bigger draw. You have two of the best heavyweights out there, two of the biggest names in the division, fighting in the UK, box office for a unification title belt. That will be a bigger draw. I mean, that will sell out Wembley 2 times over and be able to put up the pay-per-view numbers that people, it will put up on the level of Floyd versus Canelo, Floyd versus De La Hoya, those type of numbers. That is what, Tyson Fury, Anthony Joshua for unification belt can do. Possibly even Floyd versus Pacquiao. It can probably do numbers like that. We shall see, but I think that's a better route. I want to hear what y'all have to say. Like, comment, subscribe down below. I'm out.